There has been a lot of talk on Tumblr lately about abusive relationships, and specifically about the incidences in which male YouTubers brought girls into these sorts of situations. Broadened to include a much wider range of discussions, including what consent is, how to figure out if you're in an abusive relationship or not, and where to find support if you've been in an abusive relationship in the past or if you are currently in one, including many other things. I've wanted to add my 2 cents to these conversations for the longest time now, but have been unable to because I felt like no matter what I said, I would say something wrong, or that I would be called out and told that I was just looking for attention by trying to tell my story. But I don't want this discussion to die down, and behavior like victim shaming is exactly why this discussion needs to keep going. And it's because I don't want this discussion to die down that I'm adding to it, and I'm telling my story. Last year, I was in an abusive relationship. While it was never sexually abusive, it was incredibly emotionally abusive, and by the time that things broke off between the two of us, it was verging on being sexually manipulative as well. I'm outlining this because I feel like it's important for people to understand that abuse comes in many forms. Abuse isn't always a creepy middle-aged guy making comments to a young blonde girl or following her into an alley and forcing himself on her. It can be masked and it can be hidden, and sometimes you may not even realize that it's abuse. No matter what, no matter where you are, no matter what the situation, no matter what vibes someone may think you're putting out, no means no. Not specifically saying yes means no, and that always needs to be respected. In the relationship that I was in, the boy that I was dating somehow at some point decided that he was going to cure me of my anxiety. He passed his actions off as good. He acted like all he was trying to do was trying to help me, and for the longest time, I believed him. Despite the fact that he was pushing me to points where I didn't want to be pushed, despite the fact that I was consistently telling him to stop, and despite the fact that he was pushing me to points where I was having full-on panic attacks, I still thought that he was trying to help me, because that's what he would tell me that he was doing. It's so easy to get caught up in the words of someone that you think you care so deeply about and that you think cares so deeply about you. And it's so easy to just believe that they can do no wrong and let any evidence that they are fall to the side. In the relationship that I was in, the boy that I was dating talked non-stop about sex. He would consistently tell me that he would wait until I was ready, therefore making it seem like that was exactly what he was doing. And yet, despite the fact that every time the conversation came up after the first time we talked about it, I would tell him that I wasn't ready and that I didn't want to talk about it anymore, his words to me would always be, "We need to talk about it." As if we hadn't already talked about it, and as if talking about it more would make me change my mind. And as much as I hate to admit it, if he hadn't broken up with me when he had, I probably wouldn't have taken much longer to change my mind, simply because I wanted all of it to stop. It makes me sick to look back at our relationship and think about everything that he did to me and everything that he could have done to me if it had continued on, and I hate myself every day for not having been the one to end it. And it makes me even more sick to think that even worse things are happening to girls and guys on a daily basis. That's why this conversation is so important. Because even if we're not going to stop abuse entirely, people need to understand it, because you can't stop something if you don't know what it is. If you've ever been in this situation, please understand that no matter what anyone tells you, it was not your fault. The actions of others, the words of others, and the guilt that these people instilled in you to get you to do what they wanted you to do was never and will never be your fault. If you think that you may be in this sort of situation, please pay close attention to the actions of other people around you and call them out on it. Tell them what they're doing wrong and then cut them out of your lives. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know. But you've got to do it because there's no other way to stop it. And if you don't tell them what they're doing wrong, they're just gonna keep on doing it. If you're someone who knows someone who has been in a situation like this, please don't victim blame them. If they had the courage to come up to you and tell you what happened to them, do not tell them that they're just looking for attention. The chances of that happening are incredibly unlikely, and if you do that, all you're doing is making them feel worse about themselves. Be understanding, be supportive, find a way to get them help if they need it. Spread the word about abuse and what abuse is, about consent and what consent is, and about what loving and healthy relationships actually look like. Because that's the only way that any of this is gonna get done. I'll put some links in the down bar down below to other videos about consent and abuse if you want to look at those. If you want to tell me your own story, please do, because I am so much more than willing to be a supportive outlet for you. This was an incredibly hard video for me to make, so please try to be understanding of that, because if you try to victim shame me or anyone else or anything along those lines, I'm not gonna be afraid to call you out on your bullshit. As always, you can like and comment and subscribe if you want to. That's all for now. I love you guys.